Rappin with ReefBum is sponsored by Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine.
Hey, what's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Rappin with ReefBum. I'm your host, Keith Berkelhamer. So, today, this is a real pleasure. I welcome both Andrew Sandler and Rashid Story from Polo Reef. What's happening there, guys?
Hey, what's going on, everyone?
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Great to have you two on the live stream. Just a little background in case anybody doesn't know these fellas. Andrew has the famous 17,000-gallon reef tank in his house, and he is the creator of that, and he's the founder and CEO of Polo Reef. Rashid is the chief operating officer of Polo Reef, and not only handles all the business aspects of Polo Reef, but also much of the day-to-day operations of that big tank and the other tanks in the house, I assume, right, Rashid?
Yeah.
And the lab.
And the lab. All right, we're going to get into all that good stuff in a couple of seconds, but before we start chatting with these guys, I want to thank the sponsors for the show, both Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine. I really appreciate these companies supporting the live stream. I also appreciate all you folks out there tuning in. I see there's a number of you folks already tuning in live, and we've got, I guess we've got 60 people watching right now. We've got only 18 likes, so let's get the likes up there, folks, so we can get more people to view the stream out there. That would be awesome. As usual, questions, comments are always welcome. We will do our best to sift through all that stuff. I see there's a whole bunch of people out there. So, all right, guys, this is gonna be a fun show, because I think, Andrew, the last time I had you on the live stream was about 13 months ago, and I believe at that time you folks were kind of like in the ramp up phase for Polo Reef in terms of what it is right now, correct?
Yeah, I would say it was probably born, well, newly born again then.
You know, it's really been impressive to kind of like watch what you guys are doing. You've relaunched or launched a brand new website, poloreef.com. You've really upped your game in terms of your social media presence. The video production's been outstanding. I've been following all the videos you guys have been putting out on Instagram, on YouTube. And you've added to the staff, right? I mean, I think this is a new job for you, Rashid, in terms of being the CEO of Polo Reef. What do you guys? What's going on here? Can you just, I guess, give us a little background in terms of why you guys are kind of ramped up your presence on Polo Reef to kind of spread the word.
Well, let me just tell you that during COVID and quarantine, there was a time where it was just Yeltsin and I, but it was a fish-only tank. And we always knew once we got corals in here, it was a different ballgame. You guys hear me okay, Keith? It looks like I'm hearing, it's because I'm on a delay. I'm watching a delay.
Yeah, no, you're good, man.
Yeah. So we had to step up the coral game, which included coral care and
yeah, I don't even think you had many corals in the tank 13 months ago.
No. It was just beginning. I have anniversary pictures that I still, see. It was literally the beginning. And
I'm gonna roll a video of this tank. I ripped a video from your YouTube channel of this amazing 17,000 gallon tank. So while you're talking there, Andrew, I'm showing the reef from, I guess, very recently.
Yeah, and then as we started to ramp up, it really wasn't even on purpose. Honestly, like Rashid came to me and said, "You want to make this a business? You want to go for it? Let's get a lot of subscribers. Let's get our followers. Let's do something along these lines." And I said, "You realize, Rashid, you would be taking a job that has never existed before. You're going to leave your accounting job to be the CFO of a home aquarium. Can you just? Are you sure your wife is okay with this?"
We had a discussion.
Yeah, of course you did. A long one. So that's sort of. Listen, I still spend like 85 to 90% of my day in my hedge fund, and so this thing started to get really complicated. And besides the coral care, the business part, setting up meetings, etc., talking to philanthropy people, and then taking up that video quality that you talked about, finding those people, finding people that is great photography, is different than editing, is different than the people that know how to shoot the blue water. And we've done a good job trying to piecemeal this together, but it was not easy. And all this operates under Rashid.
So, just said a little bit differently, right? I feel like Polo Reef is kind of similar to how that tank came together. That tank came together where Andrew thought it was just going to be some amazing fish, right?
Amazing fish with some easy, like yellow turbinara coral.
Right. Some leather.
Guys, the corals in that tank, based on the videos that I've seen, based on the video that I just played, is like off the hook crazy versus 13 months ago.
Yeah, that looked pretty good on my TV too, right there.
but then Keith, it turned into that tank. I think turned into something really amazing.
Yeah, way beyond the plans. The original plans was to make the 2500 in my office.
The real reef, yeah.
The real reef.
I'm showing the 2500 in the office.
Yeah, there's a 2500 in the office that's about to open.
So I think Polo Reef business or company, just a lot of people always ask me, what is Polo Reef? What are you guys doing? And I don't think we really knew what it was going to become. I think one of the
we had a direction.
Right. You told me, hey, I don't want to take any money from the hobby.
Right.
And I want to give back to the hobby, whether it be from a philanthropic standpoint, where it's charities or providing education through this tank.
Correct.
And that's what it's become, and that's how this is just evolving. You know, if I were to define Polo Reef in a couple of sentences,
Hey,
it's
guys, I did lose your video feed on Skype. I don't know if you see that on your end.
Yeah, it's overheating.
okay.
The camera's overheating.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. Well, it'll come back in a second. You know, you guys can watch the videos in the background. So
You got it back or no? No.
We've got some Technicolor bars.
You want me to turn the
It's overheating.
you want to put a little turn the amps off in here? Want to cool it down in here? Open the door behind me? I can open the door behind me.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
Hold on.
Sorry, guys.
Or the other thing we could do, Jared, is we could just go to the computer cam.
Yeah, then we have to flip the thing around, right?
Yeah.
Hang in there, folks. We're just experiencing a little technical difficulties on the video feed.
Yeah, it's a little warm
Okay.
in here. But I think they can hear me.
Yeah,
so I'll
yeah.
just
Keep going.
to talk. So I mean, you know, the as Andrew said, you know, he wanted to make sure that he didn't take any money from the hobby, and really wanted to get back to the hobby because the family's been very philanthropic from a standpoint where
There we go.
they've
You're
donated
back.
so much. All right, perfect. They've donated so
Amazing,
much
with an
to.
open door and turning the amps off.
You know, they've donated so much to a lot of foundations, especially from a hospital and you know, kids with late stage cancer and things of that sort. But now he wanted to direct it towards the hobby.
Right. Correct.
So we said, okay, if we're going to provide educational videos, we're going to provide them in a way where, you know, it's good quality videos, and we're going to increase, you know, eyes on this. And the way we do it, nobody wants to watch a video that's 720p or even 1080p. People want to watch quality stuff, so that's where we're kind of
Keith, when I go
game.
back and look at my original videos 2 years ago, I'm so embarrassed. I didn't even know how to use a camera.
Well, I remember watching your YouTube channel there, Andrew. You know, you basically, you know, just kind of showed the tank, which was incredible in itself. You know, just with the fish in it, and you played some pretty awesome classic rock and roll tunes. I think it was like what every Friday night you did.
People were following me for my music playlist.
People did like that.
Yeah.
There's some good songs that we're still continuing on.
Just a couple of quick comments here. Blue Reef Polo is super hot, so that's a little poke at the camera heating up there. Justin Woody, the Polo Reef deserves its own 24/7 live stream. I'd love to see it in person one day. Yeah, have you guys ever thought of?
But by the way, that project in general is on the future capex potential plans at some point, and we don't know whether to go modular or go big at first or
inside the tank,
external, et cetera.
Yeah.
But I would love to get the feed into children's hospitals and cancer wards and stuff like that. I would give it away. That's how I would start this.
Yeah, that would be incredible. You know, on my humble 187 gallon display tank, I've got a live webcam on it, and that goes through YouTube 24/7. And it's a well, now I'm getting a little technical, but it's an IP network camera that is from Axis that does a great job. So yeah, you guys, if you need any
Yeah, we were actually thinking about those underwater ones where it's taking underwater footage that they use in the ocean and then retrofitting them so that they don't corrode. But the maintenance, the wiring, there's a lot of other issues that it's not so easy.
My web guy wants to do that in a bad way with one of my tanks, and we've kind of like done a little research on it, and you're exactly right. It's a big challenge to try to figure that out.
You know, JC and I, we have an interview that's coming out in a couple of weeks. We went out to Florida, and we met with Colin Ford, and he has a webcam in the ocean. And there's a lot of different ways of doing this. You can go really high tech, which we're trying to go with, like a 6K, 8K, very high definition, or you can go with like literally putting a GoPro that's wired outside of the tank and goes into a computer, like a stage computer for it only. The amount of money and amount of effort you spend in this.
That's correct.
But the algae is always the issue. That's your problem.
Leaving the system in the tank and the maintenance of camera, and is it really corroding? Is it doing something to your water? Like hiding cables, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin Woody, go big. Mike H, Rats Reef, 2 words, mini drone.
Yeah.
But listen, I think
It probably would be easier than
yeah,
these cameras.
there you go, right on the outside of the tank. But it you know, the whole thing makes total sense in terms of what you guys are doing to try to bring a lot more visibility to what is going on in that house to the rest of the world, because it's just simply amazing. And I'm kicking myself for not being able to make it this past fall to see it in person. And I hope if the invite is still out there to make it again, try another attempt in May or June if you guys are up to it. But
I mean, my employee count has exploded. How many have we got?
Like 4 full time now. Me, Yeltsin, Dunn, and JC. And then there's like 3 or 4,
Teddy,
4 or 5 consultants right now.
Teddy,
Yeah.
and several consultants.
Yep, Jared. And
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with the team might be a total of 10 now.
wow, that's unbelievable.
From just Yeltsin and I.
And that's a team of 10 for both tank maintenance and the business part of it all.
Correct.
Wow.
So I just one last thing, Keith, before we get off this topic. Polo Reef, Andrew's been donating to hobbyists directly, all right, things that people don't know about. But on the website, one of the things JC and I, JC, by the way, used to work for Jellyfish Art. He's the guy that does our marketing and website. He's on that last video with Julian in part 1 on the thumbnail there, in case you guys want to see. The video's doing really well. Part 2's coming out tomorrow.
Coming out
right?
tomorrow, yeah.
So that guys, check out that video. It came out really nice. And we get into some really interesting, life stories with Julian Sprung.
With tremendous B-roll history.
But what we didn't want to do is we didn't want to put out the page. So Polo Reef is a for-business company, but we've spoken to lawyers and accountants recently, and we're currently right now putting together a 501c, so there'll be a Polo Reef Foundation where all the charities going to come out from. So we have about 10 charities from like schools to in Connecticut, Iowa, Florida, and then reef restoration folks that we're working with directly where there's donations going to. And we've also been the middleman where we're working with vendors, multiple vendors. We won't name names. We'll name them when the time comes.
The point is that we'll be transparent on who we give to, and it will be on the website, and all that is forthcoming. It just had to await a structural talk here.
Yeah.
With the accountants, lawyers, et cetera, et cetera.
And the donations are coming through sales of merch coming.
Let's say 90% of donations are coming through this guy sitting.
Yeah. Let's
like in terms of donation, it's not a donation right now. We have merchandise that's all going towards the charity.
Giveaway.
But we're also working we worked with Ecotech. They provided us with some free radions that we're going to announce today. It's on everywhere on the website, poloreef.com. 2 Gen 6 radions with mounts and diffusers. We're giving back in that way. We're giving out frags. We're giving out swag.
We're showing up to local frag shows because besides speaking, we wanna give back.
Yeah, the last time I saw you guys in person was at the Boston Reefer Society, and you made a donation to a scholarship fund, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And
that will be listed on the website for instance.
Yep. Gotcha.
Soon.
Yeah, it's amazing. And in terms of the educational piece of it, what are you guys just pretty much leaning on the increased presence on YouTube and Instagram to help try to educate folks?
Yeah, Instagram, you got to do it quick and entertaining, and YouTube you can make a little bit more long form and things. And so we're working. We'll take the same content and bust it up into different sections, but no, we're actually, I think we're taking our experiences and saying this has worked for us, this has not worked for us. That's one part of the experience, and the second part is to bring in experts.
Right.
We got one here sitting here behind me.
He's
not announced.
He's going to be making a surprise
like,
appearance later on, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's not Billy Joel, it's not Springsteen, but it's somebody good.
Close enough.
Yeah, but and showing people the other side of the argument, showing people the facts, being the middleman between the hobbyist and the scientist, I think is now a role in Polo Reef that we didn't know even existed as an opportunity 3 months ago.
And I'll go ahead, Rashid.
We're bringing experts, Keith. Everything from lighting to flow to Bob Stark very soon in terms of chemistry, and we're just laying the information out there because we all know there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat when it comes to this hobby. But providing information, and then there's curriculums for kids.
Yep.
We want to target not just the hobbyists from 20 to 45, 50.
Yeah, so it's important for us, in my opinion, we're really excited about giving to marine science programs that teach.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay? Where you have, 500 students going through a year kind of thing.
Yep.
And so we're looking for best bangs for the buck as opposed to a tank in a lobby of a school to look at. Okay, so we get asked to look at all sorts of those projects, and picking those projects and the right ones, and backing the right people, and the background checks and the structure checks. It all takes a lot more time than we expected.
Yeah, it becomes a problem. Everybody wants to just get a tank and put it in a school, but who's going to watch over that tank?
Yeah.
What happens in the summer? Is it central? Like these kind of things. But we're just trying to make sure that the funds that we do provide, they're going to go a long way.
Right.
And they're allocated appropriately.
Yeah. You absolutely need somebody that is going to be invested in a school tank that is not going to rely on outside help. I mean, obviously, I think will for school kind of tanks and tanks you would donate to whoever, you want to make sure that you've got somebody that's excited about it and
correct,
and that
let's put it this way: the due diligence on this stuff has been twice as long as we would expect.
Yes,
that's all.
Yeah. Plus,
we were dealing with our own structure.
Yep. It's just amazing in terms of what I mean. Yeah, I mean the last time I had you on, Andrew, we went through the whole system and the floors of that you have below the tank. Right, there's at least 2 stories below the tank with all the equipment that runs that big 17,000.
Yeah, I actually did a brand new 1 minute and 18-second reel on the sub-basement. It's posted on Insta, maybe in my groups also. It is not easy to film an engine room that sounds like the freaking Titanic engines down there with terrible light and in a minute and a fraction. So it's not something we do easily, but we happen to have put this reel together real quickly. And people loved it.
Oh, you put the reel together.
I pulled it together. Yeah, I pulled it together.
Andrew's learning how to put reels together.
Really? You're doing some video editing, man?
I've gotten hip to the editing game, believe it or not, Keith.
So you're very hands-on with the tank and now the editing. Wow.
Now the editing, right.
It's gotten better, a lot better. I mean, I even understand ISO and f-stops and the cameras and the filters. And, I tried different apps and for different filters. And
it's not easy filming a tank, especially when you've got a tank that has a lot of blue light on it. That's for sure. It's just very, very tough. And in person, you don't see that, but the camera, you got to really. Oh, we lost you guys again there. I think it might be some more overheating going on your.
It's okay.
All right, we're gonna talk anyway.
Yeah, just keep talking.
So which lens to use in during which daytime?
You're back.
You're back. Okay, good. What else?
Jared, just keep blowing on the camera.
Yeah. Any event, we're learning new tricks all the time. And by the way, that iPhone 14 has been an incredible improvement just in itself.
Oh,
and the coloring.
I got this. And I want to give a shout out to Bay Area Reef for turning me on to these filters for my iPhone. I've got an iPhone X, which is a couple of years old at least, and I've started using these.
What brand? What brand?
The filters.
I think it's a 10.
No, what's the brand of the filter?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
Is it the Flipper or the Orphix?
Orphix, that's it. Orphix.
Okay.
Yeah, and
yeah, we found the clip we think we like better.
really.
Yeah, the one.
And that
The C, what is it called? C.
The Flipper?
Yeah, what's it called?
It's the new Flipper that.
What's the name of the brand?
The Flipper.
No, but it's
Yeah,
on the
C-
back of the
oh,
C something.
Yeah, I don't know.
C something. Seascape or
Yeah. It just came out. You guys can find it on Amazon. It has a magnet instead of a clip.
yeah.
no, but that's one of them. Even the orange yellow,
The
I
orange
like.
is-
Even the big orange yellow that's not in the magnet, I like better than the Orphic clip now.
But it just like makes a huge difference. Instead of like having to break out a DSLR or a mirrored, lens camera, you could just break out the. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking like it's like brand new thing that you could do. I mean, I'm so freaking slow. I finally discovered this this neat little trick in terms of using an iPhone and these filters. But man, oh man, am I loving this now.
If you set the white balance down and use the right filter, the little orange ones, the flipper one that you talked about, you only need over one of the lenses, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah. A couple of random questions coming in from the viewers that we'll get into, and then we've got some topics to talk to you guys about that we want to find out more information about. Manny's Reef, can you ask Andrew if he was finally able to successfully keep a peppermint angelfish?
The longest I kept one for has been 7 years.
Yeah.
The last two we've had, one died way early, and it was internal nematodes. We had it autopsied. And the other one probably lived a normal. They probably only live 10, 12 years in captivity. If you have it for 7 years, I don't know how old it was.
Yeah, you don't know how old it is.
So, nobody has gone out and collected these things in multi-years. The guys that used to do it, either there's permit problems in Tahiti where the easy dives are, and the hard dives, there's permit issues and other issues. Like, I don't know. They're only like in 2 or 3 locations.
How often do you see them come up for sale?
I haven't seen one in 4 years, 5 years.
Wow.
There's only 2 or 3 divers in the world that will do this.
Wow. And it's because they're in an area that are they a deep water fish? Is that why?
300 to 400 feet down, and it's not even that. It's that they stay so freaking close to the rock. I don't know if you've seen a flame angel, the way it stays within the reef. They can't. It's hard to catch them, so it takes a lot of hours to get little fish, and then they have to decompress, and so the dives become very complicated.
Thus the high price of the fish.
Thus the high price.
That's a $20,000. That's a $20,000 fish, right?
Yeah, and then they're not so good at adopting to looking up for food.
Oh, really?
They're a little on the dumb side. So a lot of them perish because they don't feed from the water column. They're pickers.
Oh.
Baby brine helped a lot, that kind of thing. But you gotta really get some live rock in there that they're picking on, which means you're not putting them through quarantine, which means they're likely to get internal nematodes or come with them, and therefore the shortened life.
Yeah. Somebody did ask a question about quarantine and that you guys have such a stringent quarantine process, yet sometimes things get through. Does that kind of freak you out at times, like when you do such a stringent quarantine process for fish, and then all of a sudden you find a disease in the tank? I mean, that's such a high volume of fish that you guys have in that tank. I guess there's always some cracks that might occur in the armor there, right?
So we're lucky enough to have a UV sterilizer that actually has 350,000 microjoules, which actually kills free swimming ick and velvet. And so when something gets through, it tends not to erupt. Okay? So we manage, and we change the UV bulbs frequently, more frequently than ever. Does that mean that a fluke or something doesn't get on a fish's eye and get through? Yeah. Going to catch that fish is a major problem, though. Yeah. So you know, managing it naturally with cleaner wrasses and those kind of things, we'd rather do. We have dosed hydrogen peroxide in the tank. The corals didn't love it, but that was a period of time where we couldn't get new UV bulbs for the 5 or 6 week period, and we felt that we needed a little more oxidation. Yeah, we crank up the ozone during those times. And frankly, we're in a position where we change the UV bulbs, the problem goes away.
Really?
By itself. Yeah.
I think
on the fish. Now the coral, that's a whole nother ball of wax that I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Even with the fish, Drew, I think we've changed our mentality where we realize that we're managing egg.
Yeah, and we've seen occasional bacterial infection on the eyes, or a fluke on the eye. We see it.
Yeah, guys, we have a QT process. It's important, and the thing I can tell you about that is even with this QT process, there's cross contamination that can happen. There's so many things that can happen where you still get something in the tank. So this whole theory of, you know, we have this superb Polo Reef QT tank where nothing gets in that tank, it's near impossible. And I'm sure some people will want to, you know.
But Keith, you know, we have a bunch of Anthias and Chromis in the back that have been there way longer than 30 days because Uranimia broke out in there. And now I'm nuking the freaking things with formalin because you know, the last fish could be the grenade.
Yeah.
You know, and so we're really sensitive to that.
Right. I mean, as long as
we're even more freaked out about adding fish now than ever.
No, understood, because you've got some rare specimens and you've got a lot of them, you know, in that tank. So you don't want a domino effect like occurring with that tank. That would not be a good situation. I want to continue talk.
I'd rather nuke the fish and lose a third of them, but at the third be healthy, than you know.
Yeah.
You get the deal.
Yep. Rob Upstate New York, thank you so much, man, for the super chat. The comment is, Andrew, everyone always wishes they went bigger. If you had to do it again, would you? Hope to see it live someday.
We are. We're adding more water volume.
Yeah. First of all, you realize that things in your life causes reactions, right? Every action's got a reaction. In this case, I had a marriage that busted up on the early side in terms of building 2 800-gallon tanks. And when you leave the house after a heartbreak like that, or after a few years, you vow to do it again. And if you're one of those fighters, like that experience, that whole experience, had that not happened, there'd be no Polo Reef.
Oh, really?
Okay, so and you would need a personality, one of those personalities that, like, when you get punched in the face, you know, you get up and want to show off and be better next time.
Yeah.
That perfectionist type personality.
Yeah.
So bigger, I don't know. Better, I don't think so anymore. It's gone beyond my dreams. And now we're adding more water volume to the house and more grow-out tanks and doing it more in a more laboratory way, clinical way.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about the pest issue you were alluding to about the corals, or we want to talk about the lab? Maybe talk about the pests first. That's I'm
handing this off to Rashid.
Okay.
Okay. So, thanks.
It's his fault.
So go bug guy.
This is where we're going to the bug guy, the worm, the aquaria and flatworm guy. So here's what happened, guys. When I first came here, Andrew was putting corals into the system, and we were putting them in 4 125-gallon raceways.
In 6-week quarantine.
And we were waiting 4 to 6 weeks.
For the fish's protection.
For the fish's protection, because we wanted to make sure there weren't any trophonts or any ick or velvet, God forbid, that came on those rocks.
And there were less egg inspection than there should have been.
Yeah.
Right. So there wasn't that inspection, even though we all know that if you keep a coral in a tank. And
They were
it's
dipped,
infested.
but who knows? Like they were dipped, and then there was eggs, right?
Yeah. I mean, something is going to get through.
It's all about the eggs, you know.
And something.
It's all about those eggs.
Something Keith did get through, and I think a lot of that is because maybe a little bit of impatience on our end, because we stocked that tank up. 17,000 gallons within. The problem is we brought some really big pieces, and I don't know where this came from. And some of them sometime went right in the tank after we did inspection because they were too big to even put in those vats. And that was one of our issues. Guys, we didn't have holding tanks large enough. We didn't have enough water to put these corals and continue to properly treat them. So long story short, I mean, we have a game plan. I mean, we have some aqua-eating flatworms in the tank. And, you know, we were just with Joe Wylo a couple weeks ago when we were at the Long Island Reef Association holiday party. And he walked us through.
I'm showing the video, by the way, of you guys blowing off the aqua-eating flatworms.
Yeah. So
let's see. What do you got there? I'm looking at. Is this a new video?
Yeah, well,
have I seen this?
I don't think you've seen this.
I don't think I've seen it either.
It's new. So there's a little bit of delay, so it's going to come.
All right. Okay.
But Joe told us that Joe used a garden hose.
A garden hose nozzle for the pressure.
And not RO water, but just regular water.
Oh, tap water?
So, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So that right there, guys, is. I know
that raccoon butterfly loves flatworms.
Yes. And, I was so excited when I saw these fish eating them that way. But the trick was to get water volume a lot more intense. So we changed the pump, we changed the hose, and it's still RO water, but these things were coming right up. So we have a game plan where we might not reset the whole tank, but we might take out 30 to 50% of all those acros out of the tank.
Inspect, cut.
Some of them might go back in. Some of them will be in holding tanks that we're putting together. But we're going to go through I'll call it the Joe Wylo method, where we're blowing those corals out twice a week.
That's what he did, right? With fresh water, you're saying, with a hose,
yes.
and he blew them off, and that pretty much kept them at bay, right?
Yeah, because as the eggs hatched, then the new adults get blown off again.
Right.
So it's just a numbers game. You got to continue to go through the cycle so you catch up with that life cycle. And I mean, we go through 130 gallons of RODI water, and it's not even a
150 gallons of RODI. It makes zero dent in our salinity. Zero.
So you use 150 gallons of the water to blow off the aqua-eating flatworms?
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
That dive, I was in there for 2 hours.
150 gallons, yeah.
And that didn't,
which is not unusual for us. We usually use maybe 100.
Yeah. But that's the game plan, Keith. The way I see it, some folks go through these things in their tanks, and they're worried about telling people because then people will look at them. Oh man, you didn't quarantine. You're not a good hobbyist. You're not a good aquarist. What I told Andrew is, we're planning actually on doing season 2 of Diaries of a Mad Reef Keeper, and we want to document and tell everyone what's going on so everyone learns from this process. If you could do it in a 17,000 gallon tank, why can't you do it in a 300 gallon tank?
Yep.
Obviously in a smaller tank you could probably quarantine a lot of these things, but there's always a solution. If there's a will, there's definitely a way, and that's what we have here at Polo Reef.
The other thing, Keith, is it's way easier for an egg or something to get through when you have huge, tight colonies.
Yeah, you guys got so many.
Like in a frag, you can get turkey base that go like this, and whatever's on there is gone.
Yeah, I had in my old tank in Connecticut, it was a 225 gallon tank, and it was an awesome tank. It was a beautiful tank. It was featured, I think, in on Reef Central, maybe Reef to Reef, but as a tank of the month. But I had aqua-eating flatworms in that tank, and the way I managed it was I used a turkey baster to baste the corals every now and then. And I had actually a pair of clownfish that used to just follow me around with that turkey baster.
Oh, they get totally used to it and loving the action.
Right, and it's usually like just certain colonies that they have an appetite for.
Yes.
That like tricolors or something and whatever.
Yes.
But it seems like every system there's always certain colonies that get kind of get the action.
Yes. That's a good point, Keith. So, the main display is huge, right? So I know the problem childs, right? So that's where Michelle and I are going to attack, and Dunn, as he starts to dive a little more, we're going to dive those areas, and as we tackle those areas, we're probably going to take the majority of the corals out of those areas. And then there's other things. You have wrasses. You have, we're thinking about blue-legged. There's all these potential solutions.
Right, but it's
you know.
there's a possibility that sometime between springtime and summertime, a third of the acros come out of the system for 42 days and get inspected, cut, blah, 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 redipped. We're making storage space right now as we speak, additional 300-gallon holding tanks. Did they lose me again?
Yeah, we lost your video again.
We've just been having you talk.
Okay, fine.
One thing, you're back. One thing I think I mentioned to Rashid when we were talking earlier this week was that I love potassium chloride. You know, I bought a 50 pound bag of potassium chloride, the stuff that basically you put in a water softener, and you just pound it up, you grind it up into a powder, and that stuff it's clear. So, you know, you can actually see flatworms falling off, you know, infected acros. And it works in a way that is really interesting. It's kind of like a reverse osmosis type of thing. It sucks the water out of the cells of the flatworms. So I've actually seen flatworms disintegrate, you know, in that stuff. So
I don't worry about those guys. I worry about eggs and then the coral colonies that you're cutting and then you end up, you know, a fraction of what you put in, and that's the heartbreak for me, and the step back before you get 2 steps forward.
It is tough, man, because, you know, to kind of like break apart a masterpiece, which it is right now, is you know, I've been there. It's not easy decision to make, but
yeah, we're not sure how far this goes or whether this is a section by section thing. We don't know yet. We just know that at least the hose thing that we tried the other day seemed to have eradicate a lot. So we're going to manage it and then make a decision, I guess.
Yeah. You know, I mean, listen, pests are part of the game. Pests are a natural part of any ecosystem in the world, and especially in a reef tank. And it's always something, isn't it? There's always something going on with the tank.
Keith, they always attack and get the nicest colony too. You know, it's like you know the deal.
Yeah.
They're not getting my stylos. They're not getting.
No, nothing like stylos. What eats stylos? What eats a bird's nest? I don't know. I mean,
no, nothing. That's what I'm saying.
The problem is when you have these massive colonies that are like 2 feet across, right? The last one that we lost that really hurt was this magnificent acro that I got from my buddy Sam out in Jersey. It was beautiful, and it was growing so well.
It must have doubled in size.
It must have doubled in size out of nowhere. Half of it is bleached out right before he came back from
24 hours. It just gave up.
Half of it was gone.
There was no even warning signs. Whatever.
And as soon as we took it out, we smelled the coral. A lot of times you can smell the coral. You can smell the death. You definitely can smell a difference between a healthy coral and a coral that's not healthy. But when we cut it down, like right down the middle, Keith, and I could send you this video. Like there were eggs inside the skeleton where even with the hose you couldn't get to them.
No way.
So this is why you have to be proactive when it comes to pests. You can't be reactive and say, oh, I'm going to do, you know, blowing them out with turkey basters or RO water, because it might be too late. You know, we might have already lost, you know, 20, 30 colonies and we don't even know it yet. It's kind of like how, you know, brown jelly disease works with a torch. You see one head gone and you're like, oh, the other 2 look super healthy. But it's like
spreading.
The brown jelly is like from inside, and those things are gone.
It spreads like crazy.
Yeah. It is unbelievable, like how overnight something can change. Like you didn't even know you had a problem, and all of a sudden, like a coral crap sounds like, okay, what's going on? Let's start doing a little diagnostics here. I mean, even you know, I experienced this recently, bacterial infection, like coral pathogens. That's a whole nother thing you got to worry about. You know,
that's a whole nother ball of wax. I mean, there's.
How do you keep up coral? How do you keep coral pathogens out of the tank?
You send the microbiome, you test the bacteria, the Cipro. You know, that's sort of, to me, that's a bad decision. If you have to decide to Cipro your tank, it's not a place I want to make that. That's not a great decision to have to make.
So I recently went through an episode of my Peninsula tank, which has been thriving. You know, and you know, it's an SPS dominant tank, and beginning in the summertime through the early part of the fall, I had some random episodes of RTN and even some STN and some RTN. So, you know, I just kind of like chalked it up to some things. I thought maybe it was because I was getting very, very low phosphate readings in the tank, and that perhaps was stressing out the corals, or you know, it might have been something else, you know, based on some ICP testing that I was doing. But it got to a point where I was like every day looking at the tank, looking at it really closely in terms of certain corals, like, oh man, what's going to happen next? You know, that coral doesn't look good. That coral doesn't look good. And so it was kind of like it started happening more and more and more. And
I hate that domino effect.
Oh, and it's the worst thing. You don't want to look at the tank. You don't want to look at the tank because you're just scared to see like what.
Well, a little secret: we only make big reset and big projects like this when we try to ship Andrew out to Italy or the Bahamas. But unfortunately, we can't do it for 42 days. So he's gonna have to put up with this as we try to fix the tank.
So I consulted with Chris Meckley at ACI, and
Yep.
you know, his suggestion was to hit it with some oxalinic acid, and I had him on the live stream, and we
I spoke to
we
him
talked a
about
lot about that treatment on the live stream a few weeks ago. I think it was around Christmas time, and I tanked it a complete 180. It stopped. The RTN, the STN on that tank stopped, and I did a pre-post microbiome test. The pre-test showed coral pathogens and
like which ones? Do you know? Vibriones?
The Arcobacter was one.
Arco, yeah.
And
okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head about the other one. But
Okay.
but
All right.
then I did a post test 2 days later. I did the
Yep.
post test 2 days later, which might have been too soon. They were
Yep.
still present, but they were significantly reduced.
How long did it take you to get those results back?
It takes a while.
By the time you get those results
I
back,
know. It's kind of like you're
Right.
kind of like, you know, it's not.
That's the issues we're having with ICP.
Yeah,
we
you know,
sent
we bought an
three different
IC,
vendors, yeah.
we bought an ICP machine that's basically a paperweight in my garage right
why?
now, under a blanket, because we didn't want to do this 2-week waiting thing in the mail, and we're still doing it, and it's still a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, so you guys still have to.
I'm sure I can make a deal with a local lab somehow, but in general, I think the information is coming back too slow.
I mean, unless you live in Florida. I mean, Meckley has this guy, right? I spoke to him about that.
Yeah, I get it.
I use.
quick.
You're talking about Reef Labs. I use Reef Labs too.
Yeah.
They're quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
get them. I get my results back like sometimes within a week.
Yeah.
It's all right. ATI loses half of mine.
No.
Right in a third.
What?
No, they just go missing. I don't know what happens
Really?
to them.
That's
They find them eventually, but it's a month late.
that's
whatever.
odd. That's
Not
odd. So Rob B's Reef is asking, have you guys ever used the microbiomics or something similar? It sounds like you have, or maybe have not.
You know, we haven't done that yet.
Maybe you shouldn't do it. You don't want to. You don't want to find out anything bad. You got enough. You got enough on your. You got enough trouble with the aquamarine flatworms.
Many years ago, when we had the lithium scare in all the salts.
Yes.
Remember
Yeah.
that one? Everybody found high
Yeah.
lithium, and they thought that their fish or corals were in danger. And I started chasing numbers and chasing ghosts and changed salts to a different brand, and I literally like wiped out a tank from it.
Ooh.
So I don't want to know what skeletons I have in my
Yeah,
closet.
it's probably a good idea.
I don't want to know. I'm going to change the UV bulbs and hope that they can stay under control.
Right. I mean, those tests will show you the not only the coral pathogens but fifth pathogens.
What do you do? I mean, you find a problem. What do you do? Start dosing, like you start dosing bacteria that we don't even have real evidence
Or
about what it does?
antibiotics.
Like, what do? You go
Well,
antibiotics. get rid of all
I did the OA.
You'll wipe out your tank following those
I
things.
did the OA treatment without knowing what the aquabiomics test results were because I didn't have the time, you know, and hopefully Eli.
The nice part about the big displays, we can crank up the ozone, really crank it up. The UV bulbs, when we change them, make a huge difference. And so pathogens, bacterial infections I'll see on an eye. Like I'll change my UV bulbs. I'll make a couple little tweaks, and then they're gone. We have the advantage of massive power, where 300,000 microjoules actually does something, and dilution. So we have some advantages going where we get some leeway.
And we're considering doing some different things with the 2,500 gallon tank. You know, maybe we go back old school and do some metal halides. You know,
this is when we bring in there. This is when we bring in your special.
Did we switch the lighting just now?
This way we just bring in your special guest. Is that what we're segueing to?
I wasn't gonna. I'm just saying.
What else did you have on your list before we bring them on?
I could. You know, we can keep talking about pests and coral pathogens and all that stuff. But we're talking about flow also. Your lab. Those are a couple other topics.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's hit those quickly.
All right. Flow.
I'm leaving the lab to Rashid.
Okay, let's talk about flow.
We'll do a joint flow. Rashid is in charge of the lab. The lab is under construction. It's been under construction, I feel like, for a year.
Too long.
We have drilling and hammers every morning. We have tradespeople in every morning, electricians. But when it comes out, when you guys see it, it's going to be like you can eat off like the worldwide corals, a fan floor type situation.
Yeah, I don't know if we can compete with Fan from Tidal.
I don't know if we can compete there, but
I talk to them on a regular basis.
I know that's the direction you're going.
Yeah, I want it to be nice.
Right.
I want the workers to be here. So like, tell them the story of why it was like that. I mean, so people like, you know, like this house is immaculate, this tank is immaculate, but the lab started off as the reason Andrew never finished is because it was supposed to be his home theater.
Yeah.
You know, so we finally realized that we needed that room. I think Orly finally realized that we're going to take that room.
That room was a goner.
You know, so we just started fixing it up. We started fixing it up from the floors. We started off with the floors and put tiles down, so it's easy to mop, and it's not cement floor. It was a cement floor.
But it wasn't easy because there's crawl spaces and like you have to make special trap doors and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. Because one thing I think a lot of people don't understand is like you have the main display tank, but like 30 feet away, away from that tank is where you have, all the filtrations down below. It goes through the lab.
I'm showing the lab video now. I was showing the flow video before.
Right. So the lab, that's actually, the desk is that lab thing is not really in the center, whatever. But that's what it's starting to look like with the drop down ceiling, the tile. We're starting to put some nice cabinetry and a nice coral station and get rid of those 2x4s also in those coral vats behind you.
Put those
that coral station is going to be a beautiful cabinetry lacquer, and a real quartz tabletop. The 2x4s will be gone, but that it's all a function of.
Yeah, and you guys can't see the tanks, but we're gonna have two 250-gallon grow-out tanks. The tubs are going to be glass tanks now. And like these are some of the things just from, being in the hobby for so long, along with Andrew. Like we had tubs. I mean, to inspect coral from top down, Keith, is only 50% of the job. Having the glass tank, you could now see it from top bottom up. You could see God forbid, those like black bugs or a flatworm, where now they don't have to pick up every coral and inspect. They could do a quick visual inspection and then go after the ones that definitely look bad. So it's those little things that we're fine tuning that essentially are just going to make us.
You see the trap doors right there, right?
Yeah.
You see that? That's our crawl space, just in case.
So there's pipes running all across.
All through there and down, yeah.
Wow.
To get to the quarantine and then down the basement.
And then those 4 vat systems there will be converted to glass. Those 2x4s are gone. It's gonna look spectacular.
We bought a fridge yesterday.
Yeah, we got a new fridge.
You got a new fridge.
We got a new fridge.
We did.
Big freezer.
Because it had to get built into the cabinetry.
Yeah.
You lost your video feed again there. Well, yeah. I mean, listen. If anybody needs a lab, it's you guys because you're back. I can only imagine in terms of the workspace that you need to just for the water testing, for whatever you're doing in terms of inspecting corals. So the back to
it wasn't so bad when it was only 2 or 3 people, but now the whole workflow of is important for efficiency.
Right. In terms of the ICP machine, did we get a glimpse of that in that video, or was that something?
No, it's in the garage under a blanket.
That's a sore subject. Let's move on.
We're not talking about the ICP tester right now.
Yeah.
Got it.
Let's hit on flow, Keith, since you showed.
Yeah.
Those,
all right. Let me show the flow again.
those
And then we'll go to lighting.
So talk to us about flow. What's going on with flow?
Well,
tell them what our issue is that most people have.
Yeah. So look, you have this tank that's got 3 sides viewing, and so the only place in theory you can put powerheads / monsters or cannons, if they're not hidden in the rockwork, is in the back.
Yeah.
Or if you wanted to create a retractable situation that did a sweep and then went back up on a crane, but the engineering for that is
crazy. Yeah.
Crazy. So we're looking at options with these little cannons, big cannons. Panther Ray and Abyss are the main players. It's more likely to be a hybrid situation where there's one big monster creating the wave. You see that Hydro Wizard right there in the center. That does 50, 60,000 gallons per hour right there. We're going to try the new Abyss out also. And then, so we think, frankly, we're probably likely to use a hybrid situation buried in some rocks. Some of the ones like Abyss tend to carry further but are narrower.
Yeah.
And the other brand, Panther Ray,
the triple X.
Yeah, a wider flow but not as long. So depending, and then of course Abyss has short wires and they're orange and they need to be custom done and rewired, and so this is all not stuff that you're going to be able to figure out from day one.
Yeah.
And so we're testing this thing, and we got wires everywhere, and we have to like figure out whether we can film the tank with these ugly wires, and until the wire management's done, that's what we're going through now.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine this. It's your typical peninsula tank, and it's like the far side that's away from the overflow. Okay, it becomes an eyesore when you have power heads that are literally on the other side. You want to see all 3 ways. The other thing is we thought about putting power heads like slightly below the water level, but then you have the vortex that you have to deal with. So we were thinking about maybe creating some 3D designs that stop the
helmets.
Vortex. There's a lot of things we're talking
What
about.
about some sort of surge device that kind of spills into the tank?
We don't have enough height up top.
We don't have the room like Joe.
Yeah. We don't have the height up top.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We have surges, but it's basically just taking away pressure from somewhere else.
Jelly, thank you so much for that super chat. She says, please hit that like button. Yes, folks, please hit that like button. Some other comments here about flow. Mike H. Rats Reef still thinks some custom-made ocean motion devices on those new flow pumps could be quite effective. Bert Minshew, if somebody gets in front of the Abyss 99,000, they get their arm cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was inside the tank mounting that thing.
No, the Abyss one, the Abyss monster,
the big one
big monster.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or is that the 1200? Which was the big monster?
I think it was a 12.
1200, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the 9000 is.
It's a really big one. It's the big one, like half the size of a.
Sounds really big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, geez, I got a Peninsula tank, and it definitely is a challenge in terms of trying to figure out flow. Mine is like a
the mounting. Keith, the mounting on this is not easy. They want you to put it on poles and between the vortexing and the poles. Like we're going to start experimenting and actually putting them inside caves, the Marco rocks and stuff like that. Like it's probably going to be some hybrid solution where the smaller ones gonna have to go in rocks and stuff like that, and the wider ones where there's coral close, and the long ones when there's coral further.
Do you guys have sand in the bottom of that tank?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
mostly on the
pretty,
backside,
pretty,
inside.
pretty. Not a lot.
Is that become an issue with the amount of flow you need to crank, or no?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, over 10 feet. The only issue it's going to become, and we've spoken about this, is like, siphoning that sand at some point.
Yeah, like how do you clean that sand?
How do you siphon that sand 10 feet down?
Now we got a lot of gobies. We got a lot of gobies.
Yeah, you'll be taking
But
fish
if you
out.
wanted to change the sand bed or do a job like that and do, let's say, 25 or 30% of the time, how do you do that in a pump that doesn't? How much water are you taking out at that time? How do you not kill the pump? Also,
Well, not even, yeah, and the fish that
Huh?
come through the tube.
yeah, all that.
Yeah.
somebody also is talking about a closed loop hitting Tracy Spellenberg, but yeah, do you have any bulkheads below the waterline in that tank?
Yeah.
No.
No, we have closed loops.
Do you have closed?
Yeah, but she's saying we have any bulkheads
Oh,
below,
no,
right
no, no.
below. No, one of the other options. All the engines are downstairs in the sub-basement, okay? So we have overflow boxes that are like welded into the back kind of thing. At one point, we were talking about creating drilling the back and creating another pump there that we could do a circulating thing so it's not taking from something else.
Hold it.
But what we decided was drilling the fiberglass in the back was too risky.
Yeah.
Along with, we didn't want
The noise.
noise and engine noise directly in the back room, so we nixed the concept.
Yeah. Bulkheads below the waterline to me are a scary proposition. In a tank like what you guys have right there.
Yeah.
That's taking a big risk, right?
We can make 10,000 gallons of water pretty quick, but still, it's 10,000 gallons of water.
Corey Page is asking, can you mount the pumps at the bottom below the glass pointing upwards?
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly what
We're
we just need long wires.
Yeah, we need some longer wires. We need to figure out how to get them in the Marco rocks and all that. But that's probably the way the hybrid system is going to end up going.
I mean, that's like when you have a peninsula tank, you're either going to deal with the iStore, where you have like a Gyre or something like, and that's just giving you good flow, or maybe 2 MP60s or 40s, depending on the size of your tank, or you're going to put them all strategically down below and try to hide them and then just create all this flow from underneath, flushing things out. And we're going to figure out what looks the most appealing and what's the healthiest for the corals.
But flow is certainly a key component to any thriving reef tank. I mean, that is that is for sure. And random strong flow to deliver the nutrients to the corals is certainly a key part of the success story of any reef tank.
And is it just a coincidence, Keith, that the problem childs in the tank, where the flatworms are most condensed, is the area where we don't have that much flow? I know a lot of people don't believe me, but is that just a coincidence? Or is, like, for example, the front left eye?
They don't like to hang on to the flow. Let's put it that way.
It goes back to what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. Now that could be a once you solve that flow issue, that could certainly help with the other problem.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what we're thinking.
Should we start talking about lighting, guys?
Okay.
Well, why don't we introduce our guest here?
Do we need a drum roll?
Yeah.
Tulio.
Tulio, the one and only.
Tulio, welcome back to Rappin with ReefBum.
Keith, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, bud.
It's been a while.
Let me just push this over.
Oh no, we got the bars as soon as Tulio came on.
Just like that. Squeeze in, brother. Come in. I don't want to get near Andrew's amps.
Yeah, the cookie.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
Yes, the Tulio is in town because besides my group, I told them that we were going to be focusing on lighting in the next few weeks. We want to do a spectral analysis of the big tank and other tanks in the system. He's got the tool to do it. He's as old school as that what was it? the guy that believes, Paulie B, that you take the fish and just feed him clams and you heal them. This is an old school guy that loves metal halides, but has invented the LED earlier than anybody else. And so he's really can explain the advantages and disadvantages of both. So we wanted to get that sort of out there to our followers.
And he travels with a spectrometer.
Yes, he does. And we'll be using that tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Well, I have, and thank you, Andrew. Now, I cannot take credit for inventing the LED,
Yeah,
but I certainly introduced it to our industry and manufactured. Keith, you know the story, so we don't have to go back to who I've manufactured for and what I've done. But I will say this. One, these guys have a first-class operation here. I've seen the lab. I've seen their protocol. And that speaks volumes. They have a first-class operation here. And full disclosure, I am not here as the company. I am here as Tulio. Andrew contracted me, brought me in personally to bring the equipment because he wants the actual analysis. Now, I will say this. We are using the same equipment that I used for the biosphere. If you ever watched that Pauly Shore movie, The Biodome, well, that's a real place. We're using the same equipment. And what we're going to do is we're going to map Andrew's tank. We're taking physical underwater measurements and doing actual absolute irradiance spectral analysis. Because, Andrew, what did I tell you earlier this evening? That I couldn't put a single light on your tank until we knew what the
was
conditions
missing
and the tanks are.
Or where there's too much or blah, blah, blah.
Right,
Andrew.
so whether that's going to be a Kessel or an Ecotech, whatever those lights are going to be, we want to take a baseline measurement of the system. This way we can compare that data. We can come back and demonstrate whether we've made improvements or we still have...
Correct. And then there's the whole lighting of the 2500, which is a blank canvas. And it's great to have Tulio and his opinions and recommendations, and we'll be spending time up there looking at that space and making some decisions.
Guys, just remind us, what kind of lighting do we got over the 17,000 gallon tank?
Maxspect commercials, 1,000 watt and 500 watt floodlights.
And why are you thinking about a change or supplementation of those lights?
It's older technology, and Maxspect itself has a new 600 that has less focus and broader stuff. Plus, the technologies have expanded so much now to so many different channels and so many different spectrum that we think that we can probably do a better job upgrading some way. Whether that means putting a halide source in and dealing with the heat or changing manufacturers. Until you know, you don't know. So here's how we're starting.
I'm showing the lighting video, by the way, guys. That's showing a bunch of different tanks.
Yeah, that's the 200 gallon that will soon become a 900 gallon drop down. Those are just 2 radions.
One thing that Andrew left out is I wasn't around when you guys were putting the tank together, but unlike for example, Joe Waiula's 20,000 gallon tank was amazing, and he has a whole bunch of metal halides there, and that tank was rocking before he unfortunately had to reset it. But we just went there and it already was looking amazing again. But Joe Waiula could stand above his tank. I think he has like 8, 9, 10.
Oh, you can have a coffee cake and a birthday party up there.
So to have metal halides that are coming down on strings and you're not worried about, like bumping into a metal halide.
Or back cooked, or your back cooked.
Yeah, like that kind of issues and risk. We have a different scenario above.
Yeah, you're looking at the 300 gallon grow out right now, which is actually, it's interesting that you're putting that on because we just added another row of radions, Orphic bars, and Reef Brites. And that's the clam tank with the 20K. 20K radium 20K.
This is what got Tulio here.
Yes.
When you put on the 2 lights on.
Yeah.
And we put frag tanks. I convinced you to do that there.
So we put the Polo frags under the radium 20K. Now we're not running both of those bulbs because we wanted a place to adjust from LED to so we need a shallow, a quieter area. But Tulio saw the post, and that's how the conversation started.
Right. 2 weeks later, I think 2 or 3 weeks later.
Right.
The exciting thing, Keith, you of all people actually would appreciate this, because you and I have done a couple of interviews in the past, and we've had conversations touching on this even during our interviews. The reason why I'm here this weekend is everyone has always speculated about the differences between LEDs and halides and these different light sources. Nothing to do with which one's better or any of that, just that the differences and things like that. And I'm here this weekend, and the reason why I brought all my equipment with me is we are officially at Polo Reef going to put that to bed. Because the absolute irradiance data is what it is.
Including heat analysis.
Heat analysis, the
right?
whole, yes.
Of the fixtures and all that stuff, right?
Well, unbeknownst to you, Andrew, hey, Keith, don't you run a couple of my halide fixtures?
I do.
Do they run considerably cooler than any halide you've ever used?
I've got 2 frag tanks, and I've got 2 of your metal halide hybrid fixtures over 1 frag tank, and the frag tank next to that, I've got same bulb. So I've got 400 watt 20K iridium bulbs in those fixtures, and then next to it I've got 2 old school Luminarc reflectors. Remember those?
Yeah,
we got them. We got them going. We got them in the clip.
They're mine are barely holding together, and man, those things are super hot to the touch. But when I I put my hand on the Reef Brite fixtures,
you can hold them on the fixture. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Keith. You know me. We've worked together for so many years. I'm not here as Reef Brite. I'm not trying to promote lighting fixtures. We're just talking technology.
LED versus halide. You just want the truth out there in terms of what the strengths and weaknesses are of both.
Right. It's not about selling a particular fixture or this or that. Right. And I even told Andrew, and I've had conversations with Rashid, if a Radion is best for this system, then Keith, you know me as a professional, I'm going to call it as I see it, and I'll say that the GHL or the Radion or the Kessel is the best for this application. But we don't know until we take the measurements, and that's why Andrew brought me here, so we have the physical spectral analysis, and it's not anecdotal. We have the baseline data, and then we build up from there.
Are you guys going to publish that on Polo Reef on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. We got
for all of us to digest.
This is a big video weekend.
Yeah.
So I guess this is a preview showcase of something upcoming.
Yeah, it worked out that way.
It'll probably be, some will be live, maybe some will be edited. We'll have to edit stuff.
Well, we also have Mark Levinson coming on Saturday.
Yeah, we actually have a big. Well, we had 1 cancellation.
Yeah, but Bob will come the following weekend.
Yeah, Mark Levinson's coming tomorrow also in the morning.
Now, Keith, Mark doesn't know I'm here, so don't tell him. Don't any of you guys watching right now.
Dude, I think the cat's out of the bag.
That I'm here.
Dude, I think
we're gonna surprise him.
The cat is out of the bag, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it is an interesting topic in terms of LEDs, halides. I think the thing that scares a lot of people about the halides is the heat, right? In terms of heating up the tank, and I'm fortunate that I have my tanks in a finished basement in Vermont, which is relatively cool in the summertime. So even running halides on that tank, the Reef Brites are definitely going to be cooler than what I got going with the Luminarcs, and I've got I also have 2 of the old Giesman Spectra halide T5 fixtures going on.
Hybrids, the hybrids. Yeah. Those look great. Is that a double-ended fixture?
Nope, it's a single-ended mogul fixture. Yeah, I don't even think you could buy them in the States anymore.
Right.
But it's an interesting topic, because I've got 1 tank that I've got the GHL Mitras over that's just rocking in terms of the SPS, and it's made me think. And Tula, you and I were talking about this. I was like, do I just switch from my metal halides to LEDs? We're talking about magnetic ballast. That's something that you guys are now manufacturing that nobody else is doing at this point in time. But we can get into a whole freaking discussion.
Keith, what bulb are you running with the halides?
400 watt 20K iridiums.
Well, the 400 radium 20Ks?
Yeah.
Do you supplement that with any violets?
I got T5, so I've got I think 4 super blues and 4 true actinics. I'd have to double check to see what.
Okay, you got the true actinics. Okay, yeah, that radium is a little light. We talked about it. It's the most, to me, it's the most visually appealing bulb in the world, in my opinion.
I love it.
You love it, right?
And Tulio and I were talking about this the other day. You know, I used to overdrive them with an HQI ballast.
Oh yeah, we used to cook our corals with that stuff. Yeah,
I've got a couple of old Sunlight Supply HQI ballasts that only work for a few weeks, and then they shut down.
What did I tell you about those ballasts? How many?
So Keith, I'm spilling the beans. We're gonna do a little series on my build, right? So I have a 300-gallon in the finished part of the basement with a 60-gallon refugium to the right of it, and in the back I have a 2-tier basement. We're gonna have a 250-gallon and 260s. The main display is gonna have meadow halides.
Nice.
And I haven't had meadow halides in 15 years.
Yeah.
But you know, like looking at Tusi's tank, it's like it's hard not to.
Yeah, look, it's the most appealing bulb in the world. Yeah. I think if you supplement it correctly and you use it correctly,
right,
you get terrific results.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Whether the corals that come out of worldwide or top shelf that are used to all these LEDs and what that transition looks like, we've seen it. We've seen some transition where the coral, like it looks bleached. That's not bleached out. It's going through its adaptation.
Yes.
To all this new different
going
spectrum,
from LED
additional
to
spectrum.
meadow halide.
Yeah,
like we did. Not meadow halide to LED.
Correct.
Different thing.
Yeah.
Just a couple of comments and questions here from the viewers. TJ Rogers, Tulio is good people! Exclamation point. TJ again. What is the option of UV on the corals? So I think that's what.
I knew this was gonna. I knew this was coming.
We're gonna start this discussion, right?
Go ahead, Tulio.
What?
UV. What's the options of UV on the corals?
UV.
Well, here's the thing.
UV chips, UV out of the halides.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't want to let too much.
I'm passing you the whole UV story.
We got some exciting stuff that I brought with me here this weekend. But like I explained to Andrew and both Rashid and Keith, you know my style because we've worked together in the past, right? I need to test first. Until I put the equipment on Andrew's tank and I look at the absorption and the penetration, because no one has ever measured for the absorption of UV underwater live in real time. And we're going to do it on Andrew's tank. And I'm not talking about UVA. Okay, 395, 380.
Right, it's the dime a dozen.
LED, that's a dime a dozen. No, we're going to be demonstrating. We're going to be demonstrating down to 300 nanometers, real UVB. Okay, and we're going to show what that absorption and that penetration looks like, and it's very simple. Look up solar radiation. In fact, tomorrow with some of the meters we have, we're going to go out in the sun, and I'm going to show you that solar radiation, there's UVB.
Of course
there's UVA. There's Ferguson index. Any of you reptile guys are familiar with Ferguson indexes. Yeah. I have all of those meters here, and we're going to break it down, and I'm going to demonstrate how nearly every fixture claiming UV will read 0 with a Ferguson meter. Will read 0 with a Ferguson meter because of the lack of other components. But again, we don't want to.
And by the way, we have enough lights in Polo Reef to test,
right? So
that it's not just the main display. We have radium 20K. We have radions with UV bars. From Orfec with reef brights.
Yeah,
so
you got new blades.
So we have a lot of stuff to
We're going to be measuring.
Test.
And play around with it.
So we're going to be playing tomorrow.
Yep.
Sounds like it's going to be a fun day.
Yes.
But in essence, UV is found naturally in nature. It's part of solar radiation. This is scientific fact. What that means to aquaria, I know Chris Meckley from ACI. Yeah. Him and Chris and I, we've been doing a lot of stuff, and I'm going to be going to Chris's facility and doing some follow-up stuff as well. So we're going to take the measurements, and thanks to Andrew and Rashid, and Polo Reef, will be releasing said data on that, and we can make more accurate determinations on that.
Tulio, when I had you on one of the live streams, I can't remember when it was, we were talking about, and this was something that you know, Chris Meckley was believing in, that, you know, the lack of UVs in LEDs was contributing to the prevalence of coral pathogens, because there wasn't any UV that was killing those coral pathogens. Is that something that we still believe in as a possibility? That certain...
Well, I'm going to show you something really... I have to leave.
I know Bob Stark believes it.
Okay, here's the thing, guys. Andrew, I was going to show this to you privately. You'll have to... I guess they can take their words for it, whatever. But basically, in regards to that exact comment, here we go. Andrew, would you please read that for me? Read that whole thing, who it's from.
Disinfection of E. coli bacteria.
Just please work with me on this. We're going to have fun.
Disinfection of E. coli bacteria and H1N1 virus, flu virus, by sunlight spectrum UVA-B light source.
Yeah, but who's the paper written by? Dr. Jack Chang and myself.
Yeah,
and it was presented at the
Innovation, Colorado Boulder.
At the International UV, at the International Ultraviolet Association. So the point is that we safely inactivated H1N1 virus 2 feet away from one of our UV light sources. So it doesn't take a stretch of the imagination to say that that can be effective on other microorganisms.
Hey, but Trump wanted to put it in your body.
Because, you know, Mike,
but Keith, you know my style. I'm not just going to make a claim. I don't do that. So we do have evidence. We do have evidence that it can be useful. What that means to the, you know, to aquaria in general, that's one of the reasons why I'm here, and we're here to start determining that and taking those measurements.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Keith, you know, like, the only way we're going to advance this hobby and help people actually grow corals and stop the STN, RTN, and things that we don't know is not just the biome tests and stuff like that, but having these discussions.
I mean, there's going to be, like natural predators, natural things like UV. You know, Coral Zook's got that. I think it was a Coral Zook or Fauna Marina. One of those places. They got that stuff you put in the water, you dose, it's supposed to make the coral thicker and skinner and less.
Yeah, you're talking about the KZ flatworm stop.
Yeah, the only issue that we have found with that stuff is they want you to turn the UV off for too long, and like I'm afraid that causes a whole nother domino effect that I don't want to get involved in.
And being the accountant, it will cost us tens of thousands of dollars
to dose that
thing. To dose that 17,000 gallon tank. And remember that every 3 days, I mean, we're flushing out the sand filter. We're flushing out 2,000 gallons. So you're like
that would not be the proper treatment for that tank.
Right.
No.
But
you better lowering the water level and spraying all the corals with potassium chloride. I swear to God.
No, I don't think you want to do that either. So, Tulio, again, potentially, if UV is not present in some of these LED fixtures, then could the use of metal halides potentially prevent less disease of corals in a reef tank?
I'm trying to find that out, honestly.
Yeah.
Again, listen, Keith, you know me. I am honest.
And address how close we are, or you are, to then creating a real UV chip that at least duplicates some portion of that.
Oh, I already have it. It's here.
If it's duplicable.
It's here.
Obviously, there's other spectrum issues that are broader in a halide.
No.
But from a UV perspective, that technology does exist.
Oh, and the fixture that we can even do it with halides, Andrew. We can even do it with halides. Yeah. I do a lot of work with Disney and penguins and sea turtles that need UV. It's critical for their health, molting, shell health, and things like this. But when our target is UV, it costs me intensity. meaning the PAR is going to be lower, but they don't care about PAR. They care about the UV because these are specialized lamps designed for this purpose and application. So there's definite merit there. There's definite merit there. And with the, it starts right here at Polo Reef and the work we're going to do with Chris Meckley and some of them other guys. But it's
going to be a tough road, because here's what some folks are thinking. Oh man, this guy's trying to sell some more.
We have the medical data.
Well, that's the thing. So
that one piece the one piece that Andrew, I have the poster. I can publish it. Okay, this was done in a lab, and this poster was presented by the International Ultraviolet Association, who, by the way, are the same people that worked on COVID. These were professors from Harvard. These were people from the Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security. So this isn't some thread on some board on Facebook. This is scientific data. We can kill organisms with solar radiation safely. Now, to apply that to corals, that's never been done before, and that's why we're in uncharted territory.
Well,
now.
I'm confident, Tulio, with the contributions you've made to the hobby in terms of the data that you've collected over the years and the things that you've found out through research and hard work. I think you're the right man for this job for sure.
I mean, Keith, did you ever think that LPs were going to ever outsell CDs? It sounds like, the bell bottoms come back, Halides could come back. All this, what comes around goes around. You know what I mean?
And Keith, think about this. Keith, if I remember correctly, you've reviewed my LED lights for years. I mean, the UV lights that we did years ago and some of this other stuff. And considering I mentioned this to Andrew, I just ask that anybody watching this consider that, given how long I've been working with LEDs, the mere fact that I'm still talking about halides must mean that there's something there. I guess is the fairest way. Oh, here you go. Hey, buddy.
Well, and some of the things we can do, Keith, right, is like after we have these discussions with Tulio, and after we get through these next couple of days, no one said that we can't maybe fund something where we get a scientist on this and really try to prove this out, along with all the data that Tulio and the work that he's done to maybe help the hobby. And this isn't against LEDs, because we also have reef brights. Just because you have metal halides, like I'm gonna have metal halides in my main display.
Listen,
I'm not
a lot of coral
LEDs.
growers reached out to us.
Right.
And when I put that post on, and showed it, and
their metal halides,
flashed their radiums up there and said, we run them 2 hours a day, but they still use radion, they still use LEDs,
use supplemental lights.
So they use supplemental lights, and they'll hit that broad spectrum peak for just a few hours a day. So it's being done right now in growers, successful growers, and in tanks that you wouldn't think needed the PAR either.
Guys, go to Instagram. I'm gonna do a shameless plug for my friend Joe. Go to Instagram and go to Tusi, TUSI. Check out his tank. He's a metal halide guy. He also has supplemental T5s and
halide T5, old school.
The guy is growing amazing corals, and the tank just looks amazing. Nothing against the tanks that are super blue at all times and highlight these like super, colorful, tenuous corals, but there's something about the white and blue all come together.
The other thing is, it's pretty clear that a 300 PAR under LEDs is not equivalent to a 300 PAR under halides. Right. The light source, the sharp, right?
What's different?
Right. So like the whole distribution thing is such that it's not even comparable. Yeah. You need lower PAR with LEDs because of how strong those, right?
Basically, because of and Keith, you and I, we've talked about this in the past. Many LED systems, because of the focused nature of the LED,
right?
Okay, the light is so focused that the corals are being oversaturated, and that's why the zooanthellae is just like leaving,
or lighting up like a Christmas tree.
Exactly, leaving. And the point is, so if you're trying to get a PAR of 300 down on the bottom of your tank with an LED fixture, you're burning everything in between. And as you know, Keith, a lot of the lighting systems that I've designed in the past, that's why I've always steered away from any type of focusing optic or anything. I'm always diffusing and spreading the light to deliver and distribute that energy differently to avoid those issues like Andrew was talking about.
Yeah, that's clearly a trend, even inside Ecotech, right? Like the G6, it's all about their spreads better.
It took them 10 years to catch on because we were doing that 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's clearly.
We love our Ecotech guys. Jay and Kay were just here.
Hey Jay, how you guys doing?
So we love them all. We're just trying to get the conversation going so that if there's information that we could provide the hobbyists that'll be helpful to them, why not?
Hey, they're sponsored this live stream, so
they are sponsored this live stream.
No, I'm friends with Jay and them guys. And that's the thing. Listen, full disclosure. Andrew, have I tried to sell you a single thing since I'm here?
Nope.
Rashid, when you told me to come here and you contracted me and you told me how you guys could
I want to know. I want to understand.
I told him that the only reason why I would come is because of the scientific and for the testing. I don't care about the promotion because, Keith, you know me. That's not how I operate.
That's not your thing. Bill Saltwater Haven. Hey, Tulio, I supplement your reef brights on my Radions. Do you or will you have a UVB add-on like the reef brights? If so, I'm willing to test it on my 600-gallon reef.
Cat's out of the bag.
What's that?
They want to know how your UV product, like the reef.
It already exists. You can buy it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It already exists.
What's it called?
It's the UVB-XHO, UVA-XHO. We're in production with them right now.
By Reef Brite.
Yeah, right.
There you go, Bill. We lost your video. Oh, you're back again. All right, guys. I mean, this has been a pretty awesome, interesting discussion. Did we miss anything about the lighting aspect of what we've been talking about here?
More to come.
Sounds like a lot of things coming down the pike.
The one thing that everything moves very slow, like the Titanic. My tank turns like the Titanic.
That's not a surprise given the size there, Andrew.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. You can't even like my other smaller tanks. You put new GFO in, but the phosphate will drop very quickly sometimes, and you strip the water or whatever. It does not happen in this big system.
Well, bigger is better for that reason, right?
Bigger is better. Always.
Always go big if you can. Well, all right, guys. This was a lot of fun and a real pleasure for me. Any final words from you three?
I would just say Polo Reef will be delivering scientific information, proof, etc., to help the hobby. We will be helping schools and helping students for Spark to grow the hobby. We will be giving donations for reef conservation, etc., and hopefully we grow along the way. And who knows at the end what happens. This thing has been an incredible journey. We love bringing everybody along the ride. We never thought this would be this anyway at this point. So the next time we speak, Keith, which is seems to be every 12, 18 months. What was the last time?
You're on 13 months ago, I think it was.
13 months. I would imagine maybe it's a different direction or there's something new. Like wherever this path takes us, it takes us right now.
That's a good attitude, man. You just roll with it.
Just rolling with it.
Well, quick plug, Keith. We're giving away 2 Radion lights, 2 Gen 6 Radion lights. It's on our website and all over social media. We're going to announce the winner, I think, like March 10th or 11th. So just be on the lookout for that if anyone wants to switch from metal halides to Radions.
And the grand prize is we'll fly you and your significant other to have a dinner and weekend in front of the tank with me and Mrs. Polo Reef.
Yep.
Chef cooked. We'll put you up, etc., So, we're looking forward to that also.
That's an awesome thing for people to shoot for. So listen, folks, definitely check them out at poloreef.com. Check them out on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. They've, as I talked about at the beginning of the show, they've really stepped up their game. If you want to get more information about the Reef Brite stuff, visit Tulio's website, reefbrite.com. But anyway, listen, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this, and it was a real treat, Tulio, to see you tonight. We'll be
good seeing you, Keith.
Wait, I got Billy Joel here.
You know, I once shot for the moon for a guest for this show, and I got no response from the guy, but I don't know what I was expecting. Tracy Morgan's got big into fish tanks and all that stuff, so I reached out. I DM'd him on Instagram. He didn't respond. He didn't respond to my request for being on the show. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know what these.
What's going on?
What the hell?
Oh,
this is like a huge platform for him to,
His career will just skyrocket after this.
Anyway, listen, guys, thank you so much again for being on the live stream, and I also want to thank both Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine for sponsoring the show. I also want to.
By the way, Keith, I love that coral you posted the other day. What was that thing?
Which one? Was it the ACI pink spatulata? Was it the
Nope.
cherry pie, ACI cherry pie millie?
Nope.
Which coral are we talking about here?
I don't know. It may have been like
colony.
almost like an F-flow or something. It looked like a shelving piece.
I have a lot of tabling acros in my peninsula tank, and I'm just kind of looking at my. Oh, you're talking about the Worldwide Corals Cookie Monster?
That's it. Yeah.
It's a Sarmentosa, I believe. Yeah, that's a kick-ass coral. But so anyway, thanks to the sponsors. I want to thank Paul from Boston Reefer Society for being the moderator. He is the president of Boston Reefer Society. Please join and support your local reefing clubs. They are so very important to this hobby.
What's up, Paul?
I also want to let you know that all episodes of Rappin With ReefBum are available as podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Amazon. My next Rappin With ReefBum live stream will be on Thursday, January 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to have Dong Zov again on from Acro Garden. Dong is a scientist. He grows SPS like you wouldn't believe, so it's going to be a lot of fun to have Dong back on. I've got Jason Fox coming up the week after that. Evan Montgomery from Reef Builders will be on soon, as well as Stan from Tidal Gardens. Tulio, you're going to be on in April, I think, at some point in time, so if you want to check out the full schedule of guests, go to reefbum.com under the YouTube section. Until then, be safe and be well, and we will see you next time.